The Chin family dinner was in full swing at Golden Palace, the overpriced Chinese restaurant that had hosted our annual gathering for as long as I could remember. Uncles bragged about their new Mercedes, aunties flaunted their designer handbags, and my cousins, they made sure everyone knew just how successful they were. Michael, cousin Kevin called from across the lazy Susan, his tone a mix of concern and thinly veiled superiority. Still taking the bus? I could point you to some good lease options. I adjusted the cuff of my simple white shirt, briefly revealing the watch beneath. The bus works just fine. How practical, Aunt Linda chimed in, but with your computer job, you could afford something better, surely. I fought back a smile. My computer job, as they liked to call it, was the reason I wore a watch worth more than everything else in that restaurant combined. Not that any of them would know a Philippe Dufour Grande Sonnery minute repeater if it hit them in the face. Only 16 of these had ever been made, and most collectors wouldn't even know who owned them all. Speaking of work, Uncle Richard boomed. Kevin just made junior partner at Goldman, just like his father. The table erupted in applause. Kevin grinned, adjusting his Rolex, probably a bonus gift, but certainly nothing special by comparison. And you, Michael? My father's voice held the familiar hint of disappointment. Still doing your app development thing? Before I could respond, the waiter arrived with more dishes. As I reached for the soy sauce, my sleeve rolled up, revealing the watch again. This time, Dad's eyes caught the movement, and his chopsticks dropped with a clatter. That's... He stammered, his face paling. That's impossible. The table went dead silent. Dad had been a watch collector for decades, but the market crash forced him to sell off his collection. He knew exactly what was on my wrist. Is something wrong? Mom asked, looking between us, confused. That watch. Dad's voice was barely a whisper. It's a Dufour Grande Sonnery. There are only 16 in the world. It's worth $2 million. Give or take, depending on the market, Kevin added, his Goldman Sachs strained eye finally recognizing the piece. The silence that followed was sweet. Aunt Linda's designer bag suddenly looked like it came from a bargain bin. Uncle Richard's Mercedes seemed a little too normal. Oh, this old thing? I smiled, mirroring the phrase Aunt Linda had used about her Gucci bag earlier. Just something I picked up at auction last month. But how? Mom sputtered. You take the bus. I sipped my tea, savoring the moment. Ever wonder why I take the bus? I'm usually on calls with our Tokyo office. Can't do that while driving. Tokyo office? Kevin's smirk disappeared. What exactly does your app do? I pulled out my phone, not the latest iPhone, which had made them snicker earlier, and opened our company's latest valuation report. We develop AI-driven financial trading algorithms, I said, sliding the phone toward Kevin. Actually, we probably power some of the systems you use at Goldman. His eyes went wide as he read. Uncle Richard leaned in, making a choking sound. 10 billion, he gasped. 11.2 after last month's funding round, I corrected, but, you know, valuations can be volatile, right, Kevin? The Rolex on his wrist suddenly looked like costume jewelry. Dad was still staring at my Dufour, his face a mix of recognition and regret. He had been the one who first taught me about watches, about their history, craftsmanship, and the stories behind each ticking piece. That was before the market crash took everything, and he decided traditional banking was the only secure future. The auction, he said softly, Christie's, last month. I nodded. Anonymous buyer. I figured you'd recognize it sooner or later. It was your father's dream watch, Mom added, her voice tender. I know, I said, that's exactly why I bought it. The rest of the dinner slipped into an uncomfortable quiet. The usual chatter and boasts were gone, replaced by the clink of chopsticks and the occasional murmur to pass the rice. My cousins, normally loud with updates about promotions and portfolios, barely spoke. Even Kevin, who could turn anything into a flex about Goldman Sachs, was silent. Eventually, Uncle Richard broke the tension. So, this company of yours, it's doing well? I glanced at my phone. Another update from the London office. You could say that. We currently handle about 30% of AI-driven trades in Asia. After next month's merger, it'll likely be closer to 40%. Merger? Kevin perked up. His investment banking reflexes kicked in. With who? I smiled. Can't disclose that yet, but you'll probably see it in the Financial Times soon. Your firm's actually working on part of the due diligence. Kevin's eyes widened. The quantum trade acquisition, that's yours? Dad suddenly sat up straighter. Quantum trade, the Singapore firm disrupting the entire Asian market? Among other things, I said, careful not to breach the NDA. Aunt Linda leaned in, her earlier dismissiveness now replaced by curiosity. But Michael, sweetheart, why didn't you ever say anything? All this time, we thought that I couldn't afford a car because I took the bus. I tilted my wrist slightly, letting the light catch the intricate design of the Dufour. Sometimes, the loudest success is the quietest one. Uncle Richard cleared his throat, trying to pivot. Well, if you're ever looking for investors, my portfolio could use. Appreciate it, I said, cutting in gently, but we're fully funded. Our last round was oversubscribed, by about $3 billion. Silence returned. $3 billion in excess capital was more than all their combined wealth. Mom placed a hand on my sleeve. But why keep it all to yourself? Why not tell us sooner? Because I wanted to build something real, I said, not just chase titles or approval. I wanted to create value, not perform for it. Dad kept staring at the watch. There was a bidding war at the auction. The final price blew past the estimate. I nodded. I know, I was the one bidding against you. His eyes widened in realization. You pushed the price up, on purpose? I wasn't going to risk someone else taking it. That watch meant too much to you. Kevin, still reeling, tried to recover some pride. Well, at Goldman we always say. Actually, I cut in, glancing at my phone. Your trading desk is switching to our algorithm next week. The internal memo goes out Monday. Whatever confidence he had left crumbled. Aunt Linda shifted gears. You must join us at the country club next weekend. There's someone I think you'd love to meet. Can't, I replied, flying to Singapore for a board meeting. Your jet? Uncle Richard's voice cracked slightly. Just a small one, I said with a shrug. I usually take the bus to the airport, better for the environment. After dinner, as everyone reached for their designer coats and car keys, Dad followed me outside. The air was cool, his breath visible as he hesitated beside me. That watch, he said finally, his voice thick. It was in my study, the one I kept a photo of on my desk for 20 years. I nodded. Until the crash forced you to sell everything. He flinched. The 2008 collapse had gutted our family's wealth, and his identity. The dreamer who once loved horology became a man obsessed with security and convention. Did you buy it, to prove something? I gently pulled back my sleeve, letting him really see the watch for the first time. The moon phase complication on the watch caught the streetlight, its intricate design glinting like a quiet promise, proof that dreams can go far beyond money. I bought it because I remember every time I visited your study as a kid, you'd tell me about this watch. I said, how only 16 people in the world would ever own it, how it wasn't just expensive, it was the peak of craftsmanship. His eyes misted. When I started my company, I kept a photo of it too, not because it meant wealth, but because it stood for precision, for building something rare, something perfect. Just then, Kevin and Uncle Richard burst out of the restaurant, both on their phones, no doubt calling brokers to figure out who I really was. Aunt Linda was now showing Mom photos of a friend's daughter, clearly shifting strategy. Here, I said, unbuckling the watch, it was always yours. Dad stepped back. I can't accept that, it's too much. Actually, I smiled, I bought 2 at the auction. This one's for you, mine's in Singapore. 1 masterpiece per continent seemed fair. His hands trembled as he took it. 2, that's $4 million. I shrugged. About what I make in monthly interest. Some things are worth more than money. Mom walked over, still holding Aunt Linda's phone. Michael, sweetheart, about this lovely girl. Sorry, Mom. I glanced at my actual work phone, the basic one we use for secure company systems. I'm already seeing someone. She leads AI research at MIT. We met at a conference where I gave the keynote. A few cousins nearby nearly choked on their fortune cookies. Dad, staring at the watch, finally looked up. I always wondered why you stuck with your tech projects instead of following Kevin into finance. Remember what you used to say about this watch? I asked. That it wasn't valuable because of the price, but because someone gave their life to perfecting it? He nodded. That's what I've been building, not just another trading firm, something rare, something that shifts the entire industry. My phone buzzed again. Singapore markets were opening. You should go, Dad said with a smile. The markets don't wait. Actually, I pulled 2 plane tickets from my pocket. Why don't you and Mom come with me next week? You'll finally see what I've built. First class, I assume? Mom asked. Not quite, I teased. We're taking the bus. She blinked. I laughed. Yes, Mom, on the jet. As we said our goodbyes, Kevin was trying to explain to Uncle Richard why being a junior partner at Goldman wasn't everything. Aunt Linda had suddenly taken a deep interest in tech investments. My cousins were all secretly Googling my company. But none of that mattered as much as seeing Dad show Mom the watch, pointing out its features with the same spark I remembered from when I was a kid. Because some things really are worth more than money, like watching your father realize his son didn't just succeed, but honored everything he once believed in. That night, I took the bus home, as usual. But this time, I spent the ride scrolling through old photos of Dad's watch collection, quietly planning how I'd rebuild it, one rare piece at a time. Because sometimes, real success isn't about showing off what you have. It's about using it to restore what truly matters. And sometimes, just sometimes, taking the bus doesn't mean you're broke. It means you're too busy building an empire to care what people think of your ride.